I'm sorry. I mean,
That's
I
all
just
right.
ate shaving cream.
Well, everybody has to eat shaving cream once in a while.
Be right back.
Hey, I'm Jackson Avery Steele, the horror veteran.
And I'm Madelyn, the horror novice, and welcome to Bloody Wankers.
Your quintessential home for all things horror. Today, we are talking about the Exit 8 video game and Exit 8 the film. And as always, we'll do a spoiler-free discussion, and then we'll move over to the spoilers.
Jackson, what were your spoiler-free thoughts?
I think my spoiler-free thoughts for the game is it was an effective game. It's very much just what's wrong with this picture?
Yeah.
What's the difference with this?
Spot the difference.
Spot the difference. And my brain definitely struggles with those types of things. I find it very, very hard
And tedious. I think you just got bored.
I definitely got bored, especially since we were missing a bunch of easy things and also harder to spot things like random handles on the door that were just slightly scooted over. I ultimately got a little bored, a little frustrated, but I think overall it's a nice premise, it's very simple, and it's just a straightforward game. And I wouldn't call it that much horror, but it's definitely like a baby's first horror.
Yeah.
And then the movie, it was definitely a little leaning more horror, and I think it was effective. It was like a cyclical story. It was very just like contained, and I really liked it.
I agree.
And yeah, I think that's my spoiler-free thoughts. So Madelyn, what are your spoiler-free thoughts of the game and the movie?
I think it's kind of a cozy liminal space. And for me, that's just because I like subways. And I love subway stations, and I love subway like walkways a lot. Everything about it is so like, ooh, I love it. I will say the game is, a lot of the horror aspect definitely depends on like your own perception of danger. And again, it's spot the difference, except if you miss anything, you're completely reset. So that's a little frustrating. I would say the movie, it took a storyline I wasn't expecting, but I actually really appreciate what they did with it. I thought it was a really interesting one to pick.
Yeah, it's hard to come up with a story for this movie and to like make it fit the game, but yeah, I think they did it really good. So the short synopsis of the game is you play in a first-person perspective, and you are trying to get to Exit 8 in this Japanese underground subway system. And to do that, you have to progress through these passageways in between the exits. And during that, for the most part, is nothing, and you just walk forward, but there's sometimes anomalies. And anomalies can be scary, they can be whatever, they can be very subtle, such as a little poster change on the wall. Or it can be a massive rushing water that kills you if you don't run away in time.
Yeah.
And yeah, so if you see an anomaly, then you have to go back, and otherwise you go forward.
Yes, the game is, it's really simple. It's a very contained space, which I really appreciate. And the way they have it set up, I thought the map was really interesting, because it's so many repeating shapes.
There's so many just grids and rectangles, boxes, squares. Everything is so just very liminal, as you were getting at, and just very geometric.
Yeah, very geometric. I thought the game was really interesting because I like puzzles and I like spot the difference, and I like games where you have to like pay attention to details in order to reach your goal. So for me, it's like, okay, well, let's memorize when we played the game, I tried to memorize like the dates on the posters because I thought those were going to change, and those didn't. It was like the whole poster changed, if anything changed, or like the most obvious character in the poster had a difference. Like there was a face that completely changed on us. That one freaked me out when I first saw that.
And that's the problem with the game too, is when you start the game, there's no menu screen, there's no nothing.
Oh yeah,
you
it
push
jumps you
play
right in.
and it jumps you right in, and you have no idea what you're doing. So we were playing the game as we thought it was supposed to be played.
Yeah.
And then we realized that after 3 levels, we weren't even playing the game, that was just the tutorial section.
Yeah.
But we didn't know that, and then it finally gave us the rules of anomaly, turn back, if not go forward. And that part was a little frustrating.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting that, because you don't need a menu for this, but you get really confused, or at least we did, when there wasn't, and when it started with just no guidance.
Yeah, we we ran back and forth and turned back in the same things because we thought things were anomalies, which we were just noticing more things as we went along. That's what it was. In the case of this game, I think it probably would have been smarter to start you off facing the directions and just like go from there.
Yeah.
Right? But it's nice that they gave you like 3 spaces to like sink in, all the details and understand what it's supposed to generally look like. The game itself, a lot of the horror aspect is in the suspense, which is a big part of the horror genre in general. It's not knowing when you're in a space that is whether you should proceed forward or turn back. It's not being certain of what's an anomaly or not. It's questioning yourself, which is a big thing. I think there are a lot of small, subtle anomalies we missed, like the misplaced doorknob or a face on the ceiling. But I think a lot of the failures we made in the game was also just like fault of our own brains and thinking that something was different when it's not.
And that's something
so it's that
to say, yeah, the paranoia. And that's also a part of the game that is kind of frustrating because we didn't watch anything going into it. We knew very little. So we didn't know if it was going to be those like nitpicky details.
Yeah.
Or if it was just going to be all of the posters are the same poster, and that's the anomaly.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately another kind of frustrating thing because we were so focused on just the minute details. There's a poster that had like slashes on it, and we would count like the slashes.
I counted the slashes. There's 5, by the way.
There's 5, and
I
we
think
know
it was
that
2 on the top row and 3 on the bottom row.
we unfortunately know that because there was nothing that said like it's kind of more obvious than you think.
Yeah.
And it was very reminiscent of the old viral video of the basketball experiment, and you were told to count the amount of passes that was passed in between the players, and then there was just a gorilla that walked on the court.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the video, you were like expecting it to say, "How many passes did you count?" But then it was like, "Did you see the gorilla?"
You're the gorilla.
And then your mind just gets blown, and everyone knows that. And it does the same tricks of that because we were so focused on the slashes that we didn't like see the more obvious, like, oh, the handle of the door is misplaced.
Yeah.
And then in that, when we were so focused on that, then there would be like, we would look up and the man would be scary. And that also did work in its favor for the horror because you were so focused on one thing that when the minor anomaly happened, it was scarier. Mm-hmm. Similar to like the old focus on the maze and do the maze and then the jump scare.
Oh, I remember that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was definitely, it's very much attention focused, which is interesting. I haven't played a horror game like that before. In terms of the game and the message of the game, it felt very much like a purgatory space. That's something that the movie then takes and tries to put into a story, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, this game didn't really have a lot of spoilers. We also didn't die at all.
Yeah.
There was...
We're too good.
We're too good. Watch our video of us reacting and ranking the deaths, which we compiled after playing the game, because we didn't
die
die, so we needed to do that. But
well,
yeah.
I wondered if you even could diet, you know? But like,
Yeah.
the rushing water was the thing where I was like, that's gonna kill us.
Yeah, there's a couple dangerous anomalies. Like there was the rushing water that would kill the player. There was this silhouette person that was in the shape, like they had the grid patterns.
Yeah. I really think, I wonder if the model is just the man's stripped of clothes and like with the tile pattern overlaid, or if it's like one of the twins.
It had eyes, so like I wouldn't be completely surprised.
I mean, yeah, because like I would reuse the asset personally.
For sure. And then there were some others, like there was the twins, which didn't exist in the movie, and we'll talk more about that.
Oh, there was a lot that I thought I saw in the trailer. Okay, because we saw the trailer first, and then we played the game, and then we watched all of the deaths, and then we watched the movie. And I thought I saw a lot of the anomalies in the game, in the trailer, and I guess I was messing with myself, because again, it's like very like detail-oriented.
Yeah. It's so detail-oriented. And other than that, there was like a man walking throughout. That's one of the like main points. So like there's the hallway itself, and then the just man walking forward with his briefcase and phone. There's a couple of anomalies where he would look at the player or he would actually chase the player, and that was allegedly a death too.
Oh God, that man. The first couple times we encountered him, we were second-guessing ourselves enough that we walked back the passage for a bit. And we waited so long that he stopped moving and he just checked his phone. But I thought that was an anomaly because why did he stop moving?
Yeah.
And so I made you run back at one.
And that reset us.
I think more than once, but
it was, and again, like we didn't know that he just waits, and I mean, it's not instinctual that you would just see him standing there and realize, no, that's right.
That's fine.
But like, I don't know. It's
because in a game where you don't know what the danger is, you assume everything's the danger.
Yeah, and this is maybe the reason I
do.
am not in love with this is because it made me feel stupid a little bit.
Yeah.
And I swear I'm smarter than this.
I get that. I definitely, because again, I focused on all the wrong details. I don't know. I get really flighty when I don't know what I'm supposed to be on the lookout for. So a little more guidance would help. But again, that's what made it more in the horror genre in general. It's the unknown.
Yeah, did you get bored while we played it?
I got frustrated because level 7 hit us a lot.
We got to level 7 at least 3 times.
And we just assumed something was wrong, or we assumed something was right.
We just always didn't find anything and kept going.
Yeah.
And until the last one where we finally found one and then went the opposite way. But I also wonder
to just turn the other way.
Yeah, I wonder if level 7 just is always wrong. I don't know.
Yeah,
it could be.
Or our luck is just
Comment
bad.
down below if you know.
If your level 7 was also anomalized.
If your level 7 was also a level in which there's an anomaly, drop it down in the comments. Or 2. Drop it down in the comments.
But yeah, I thought there were a lot more anomalies in our playthrough. Again, we didn't die, and because we spent so long in it, though, like we spent 80 minutes playing the game straight, no deaths, no stops.
Where usually it takes someone like 40 minutes.
Yeah,
so. Whoops.
But we encountered all of the anomalies, and
we did 100% the game.
I thought there'd be more
whether
than
it
that.
was
intentional,
and because we are cool, or rather we were just dumb. That's for you to decide.
But we encountered all of the anomalies, and I thought there were more than that. There was a couple that I got really freaked out by. The strange lighting got me.
Yeah, there was like an overly yellow lighting.
I hated that.
There was one where the door opened all the way, and there was one where the door opened a little bit, and a person stared at you.
Open door.
So you reacted very heavily to it. Did you find it scary?
I think I was mostly startled by stuff, but you know, that's fear in and of itself. A lot of the things, again, I'm uncertain, and that brews fear in me. If I'm ever second guessing myself, that's what really scares me. So I like more psychological games for that purpose, you know? And this one is more psychological than it is like physical, jump scary, like whatever.
Definitely. And I was not scared by it. Whenever something happened, I would just laugh weirdly. I had a weirdly Seth Rogen-y laugh when playing the game, and I don't know what on earth that was about. But it was funny, looking back at our footage.
I'm freaking out, and you're
freaking out.
Slowly.
I'm just whatever. And then there was also a lot of times where I would, like halfway through, I would be like, was he always not wearing socks? And it's just like, yeah, duh, that we got introduced to that 40 minutes ago. But
yeah. There's things you notice the further you go on, and
isn't that life? But it took us 80 minutes, and then we finally got to exit 8, and exit 8 was just you go up to exit 8,
and you escape,
and you win.
Escape.
So, what would you rate the game?
I think it's a solid game. I would have to put it in a category of games similar to it and rate it in comparison to other games instead of just like a game as a whole, because games as a whole, I get into stuff like, you know, there's Iron Lung, which I still want to play, which I think looks really cool. And then there's games I have played, like Zelda, and it's, you know, I think it's a solid game. I don't know. I think if it's on a scale of 5 and 3 is the most average, I think 3.
I would say 3 too. I liked the game. It was effective in what it was trying to do, but ultimately it was a bit bare bones.
Yeah.
I thought there'd be more anomalies. I thought it would be scarier. And there was only like 2 jump scares in the game if you died by very certain anomalies.
Yeah.
And we didn't die, so I don't know, maybe we're too good to be scared, but ultimately it was just a game. I don't know. Good job.
It was good. It was entertaining.
Congrats to the developers. There's a lot of developers listed, which surprised me because
I think it had to
seemed
do
like a one-person thing
with the turnaround, because there was a lot of instances where if you turned around at the wrong time, you know, it resets you, but you can keep going back into the previous anomaly sections. So I think it had something to do with the loop system, mainly.
The functionality of the loop was definitely
that
complex.
Looked really hard to program.
Because if you crossed into the new hallway, but then second guess yourself and crossed back, it would like reset you if there wasn't an anomaly. And it was very seamless, which created more confusion, but I think it was the best way to play the game. The game would not be successful without the loop system.
Yeah.
And we each gave it 3 stars. So now let's talk about the movie.
The movie.
The movie synopsis, practically the same thing, except now it's a character. It's the main guy, and he's just called the Lost Man.
Yeah.
And the Lost Man is in this train, and he sees someone yelling at this woman for her crying child.
Crying on the subway.
Then he exits, and he gets into the hallway after getting a phone call from his ex-girlfriend saying that she's pregnant, and she questions whether or not to abort it or not. And then he gets into the titular exit 8 loop, and it's just the same as the game. If there's an anomaly, turn back, otherwise go forward.
Yes.
So you want to get into the spoiler section?
Spoiler section. The first thing we really learn about this character is, again, he has an ex-girlfriend. He's not someone who thinks he can be a father. He doesn't think himself to be very reliable, and his ex-girlfriend doesn't think he's very reliable. And he has asthma.
He's asthmatic, just like the character Piggy that we'll talk about in the next podcast.
Lord of the Flies.
Lord of the Flies.
Stick around for that one.
I love the representation as a fellow asthmatic myself. It's interesting to see the portrayal on the big screen of some Asmar.
Asmar. I thought it was really interesting, partly because it made me nervous for the character every time he had to reach for his inhaler.
He
I
was
like,
so
oh my
sick.
God.
He looked sick. He
Oh
was
my
always
God, dude.
coughing. He was asthmatic. He was always having to take puffs, and I was like,
And it's because he
Jeez.
just learned that his ex-girlfriend's pregnant, right? And he is freaking out. It sounded like he was trying to get to work. Like his workday hadn't even started yet. And then he has to pivot and decide whether or not he tries to go to the hospital. And in this decision where he's like, I'm not sure if I should show up for this or not, he gets caught in Exit 8. And this is where the movie introduces, with its story, a more nuanced take on Exit 8. It gives you a setting for the setting.
it gives you stakes.
Yes.
And that's a thing that the Exit 8 game really suffered from, was not having stakes. And ultimately, the stakes aren't as important as they probably should be to make me fully care, but they at least give you some stakes. And before the opening, it gives you a bright yellow title card.
Ooh, yeah,
and
okay.
just the
Intro,
most
so
interesting, patriotic almost music. It was very like
It was very
drumline,
triumphant.
very soldier,
Yeah.
like I don't know. It was a soldier's march almost, and he was just listening to it in his AirPods while the guy yelled at the baby.
Yeah.
It was a very good and unique intro. Also, something worth mentioning is a lot of this movie is shot in very long oneers.
Oh yeah, it
The-
really feels like you're in the game.
It really
because of
feels
it.
like you're in the game, and the first shot has to be at least 8 to 10 minutes, and it's a point of view shot.
Yeah.
It's a first person oneer where he is on the train and you see him only through his reflection, and then it pans over to the whole guy and the baby and the woman, and then pans back and he gets out, and then it pans and it goes through this tunnel system.
He's going up and down the stairs. He's
Going
looking
up
at his
and down the
phone. He's looking at his
stairs.
shoes. He's looking at the people around him. It's good.
And it goes through the first couple of loops of the Exit 8
Yeah.
in first person, and I'm just like, how on earth did they cut or hide cuts, or did they just build like 3 of the exact same sets?
I will say, every time he hit the ground because of running away or having an asthma attack, I was like, maybe that was a cut right there.
It was
Because it's the only thing that like
incredible.
changed. You
Yeah,
know?
there was just so many cuts that must have been hidden,
Yeah.
if they even existed at all. And again, it was mostly just oneers, besides the occasional like facing one way, then cut to face the other way to
Yeah.
do another
to do a
one
third
oneer.
person or whatever. What I was going to say is the setting. I said it gave the setting a setting, and it introduces Exit 8 as a purgatory space, but one that you reach when you are feeling guilty about something or indecisive, which is really explored through the anomalies, actually, in the movie, which I thought was interesting, because there wasn't a lot of correlation between the anomalies in the game. And in the movie, they put a lot of emphasis on the sounds of children.
And fatherhood as a theme.
Mm-hmm.
A unique thing also is, first of all, it was so satisfying seeing this be correlated to the big screen. Just the set was almost like perfectly replicated.
Oh, yeah.
And when it wasn't replicated, it was choice, not lack of replication skill. But it was so cool to see just like all of the just proportions in real world. And then most of the posters were the same, except for a couple like intentional swaps.
Yeah.
And it was cool. They also added a locker section and a photo booth section at the end.
Yeah, which the Exit 8 system is generally like you enter it, there is a no smoking sign, there's a series of, I think, 7 posters on the wall, a security camera poster, 3 doors on your right, Exit 8 is overhead, and then another no smoking sign at the end. And then you turn left, and that's where it ends.
In the game. But
Yeah,
then in the
you just-
movie, there's a locker, like an Amazon pickup locker.
Yeah.
And then there was a photo booth and trash.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was interesting because you got The ability to add more jump scares with that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was solid. Also, there was a mirror on the photo booth, and I was impressed that there was no camera leakage in the mirror or anything, because I've
and the
seen
reflection.
Yeah, because I know a lot of movies are really good about hiding it, but just recently there was a movie called Mads, and that was incredible, and it was done in all one shot, which was just unfathomable. But there was like 3 instances where you could see the shadow of a camera. I was like, oh, so close.
Almost there.
So I'm very impressed that I was looking very hard, because even like all of the tiles are so reflective.
Yeah, I will say the set really felt like we stepped into like an HD version of what we played. Really, really fascinating. Okay, so the story of Exit 8, again, it follows this man who learns he's going to be a father. He's thrown into this purgatory area, and while he's in the system, he walks through the first 3 passages without really realizing he's in the same thing, which emulates the game in which they give you 3 passages to start with, where everything's exactly the same. And then he pauses and he takes a look around, and he's like, wait, I've been here before.
He's like, wait, I've been here before. And, oh wait, the blood dripping down from the sign definitely wasn't there before.
I will say, the Lost Man really, really made me anxious, because he didn't move fast enough. Every time something went wrong, he just stood there and stared for a while. And I was like, there is something coming from the ceiling. There is a man staring at you weirdly. There's like weird crying, screaming sounds. And you're gonna keep going forward? Like, he really stressed me out. But I really liked that he did what we did in, like, out loud. He counted out every single poster and what, like, the posters contained. And he, like, interacted with the man when the man wouldn't interact back the way you often did.
Yeah.
And he messed around with the doorknobs. And he got to a point where he broke down a couple times, and got to a point where everything was just like, okay, whatever, this is what I'm stuck in. We'll keep going forward. And I thought what was really interesting was the first real instance where I wasn't sure if it counted as an anomaly or not. I thought it was an anomaly, is he got a phone call. Now his phone had previously, he did what you said.
I was like, he definitely has his phone on him. I said at the beginning, he should take pictures of everything. And he did that, and I was like, thank you, because again, with the counting posters and the taking pictures and the interacting with the guy, I was like, this is very human.
Yeah.
This movie understands exactly what the audience does. And it was great. But unfortunately, all of the pictures had this weird yellow effect because the Exit 8
got corrupted.
ate them. They ate the photos.
I do want to look at those photos, like, blown up to see what became of them. Like, was it just yellow filters, or was it other pictures?
It was weird.
I'm
it was like a
interested
glitch effect.
in that. Okay, so he took the pictures, so he learned that his technology would not work the way it should while he's in the system, and he receives a call. And he gets this call, it's from his ex-girlfriend, and she says she's at the hospital. And she starts off the call the exact same way she did before he entered Exit 8, which is where I was like, this is an anomaly, because there's some demon that's repeating what it heard from you or something. And I will say, with the, like, fatherhood elements of the plot in this game, there was a lot of it that was unclear to start with, whether it was the anomaly or not. And I think that's an interesting part of this movie, is they really having this second plot line in there that drives him to try to escape Exit 8. It introduces another supernatural element to it, I think, because it seemed to be something that surpassed Exit 8.
Yeah, there was some moments where the phone would be an anomaly and sometimes not, and then there was times where he saw, like, apparitions of her, and it was sometimes the Exit 8, sometimes not. I don't know. It was a bit confusing, but I think it was ultimately a good choice to add that element. Something that I will say, though, is if you're one of those horror fans that scoff at all the times the character underreacts or makes a dumb mistake or is slow, you will hate this
You'll
movie.
hate it.
He was so ineffective and slow
Oh my
and
goodness.
sluggish. And a Letterboxd review put it best, where it rated it low and said men are useless because, man, this guy just, oh.
He was endearing, and I'll give him the benefit of a doubt that he didn't have all the oxygen that he should.
He didn't have all the oxygen. As an asthmatic, you know, we often are disadvantaged by our lack of air, and it's really detrimental to us, especially to our brains.
Especially. Oh my goodness.
Especially.
But he was very endearing. I really did like this main character.
He was a good main character. He acted good. It's just, oh, I would not have written him to be that dumb.
Every time a character waits too long, and this was my issue when we were playing the game, and you would pause to see what the anomaly would do to you, and I was like, no, we're gonna lose. We're gonna die.
He didn't seem like he cared that much.
He did what you did. He paused a little bit too long, but he didn't start running when you did. He waited longer. He does a lot in the movie that I rage a little bit about. Moving on, along with the fatherhood plots, the movie, when it introduces him in a title card as the lost man to you, it starts with a 1, which indicates that there's going to be more than one. And when we saw that, I thought, well, maybe he's going to die, and we're just going to be introduced to a different character who's stuck in it. He got to a point in the system where, he's walking through, he's super exhausted from everything he went through. He had a breakdown after the call with his ex-girlfriend, which turned out to be an anomaly because he went forward in that passageway, and then it went to 0 and he went, fuck.
Yeah, also weird thing about that
Completely
call
broke down.
is she was like, which do you choose?
Yeah.
Like abort or...
Abort or not abort? Be
And
a
this
father or not?
movie was just a little bit pro-life.
Well, it's not that more than it was that bothered me. The thing that bothered me is that she didn't make that decision.
That she didn't...
Like,
yeah, it was
I get that she only wanted to have a
You're probably
kid.
the father. You make the decision.
I get that she only wanted to have a kid if she would have the support of another person there to help her raise a kid, because raising a kid is hard. But putting that choice entirely in his hands when he's not even sure if he's going to be able to make it to the hospital in time, and then saying that it doesn't matter if he makes it to the hospital. And I was like, this
He's also the ex.
so wishy-washy.
He's also the ex. That's
Yeah.
so weird.
And it was, but like also her contact card was still a really cute photo of her with a cat. And like,
This man, bro, the
it
lost
sounded
man.
like the reason they broke up was because he was unreliable.
It makes sense. He kind of sucks.
And because he was pathetic. That's what it sounded
He's
like.
ultimate himbo, I think.
He is. He's so cute.
But after he's exhausted, we get introduced to this little boy. And this little boy just called the boy.
Yeah.
The boy is there just waiting in the middle of the passage. And he was like,
Anomaly.
anomaly.
And he turns
and then
around
turns
and
back.
walks back. And then it resets to 0.
And then it
when he
resets to
walks
0.
back.
And then the boy's there. Because, you know what? Why not? Sometimes people being there are apparitions. Sometimes they're IRL. Doesn't matter. Whatever. This was frustrating. You can't have different. You can't have both. You have
it's
to either choose
frustrating.
if they're apparitions or real.
It's frustrating because in the end, I think it all was still an apparition. But what it was is it's a supernatural thing that supersedes the power of Exit 8, because it is the decision that is keeping you stuck in Exit 8. You have to confront whatever it is that is putting you in this purgatory in the first place.
Yeah, also, during the call, and this was something that I was trying to tell Madelyn during the movie, this is one of those moments where, like, as the character, this is a terrifying situation. You're stuck. You're trapped. But, like, it's hard to convey that and say what this is about, because you're like he was calling her and he was like, yeah, like, I'm trapped in this never-ending loop, and it's just like so annoying and scary. And she was like,
You're bad at
that
directions.
sucks. You're bad at directions. And I'm like, this is one of those times where you can just go through the scariest moment of your life that's also so supernatural, and people are like, yeah, that your Monday was bad. Mine was also bad. I didn't have coffee or whatever. Like, I don't know. It was whatever.
It was, yeah. And it was something that he said this right before the call happened, too. And then he said exactly what you said he would say, and then she dismissed it exactly the way he said it would happen, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah.
But anyway, he meets this child, and the reason the child is there is because it's confronting his ability to be a father, right? And the perspective of having a child and whether he will nurture the child or not.
Yeah, the child may be his in the future.
Yeah.
Which, like, okay, this is done before. This is so Inception, which I know you haven't seen.
It's an out of space, out of time, again, supernatural.
So when he meets the child, who, first of all, pissed me off because he didn't talk, which... Whatever, he talked at the end of the movie. He talked at that. He has the ability. He just chose not to.
Kids don't talk to strangers. That's normal.
But it's his dad.
But he doesn't know it's his dad.
Yeah, whatever. But right when he's introduced, then the walking man, who is the titular walker. No, he's not. He's not the title character. But he is walking. And then we see him pass, and he continues walking. And then there's the title card called The Walking Man. And this is where I thought the movie was going to be the coolest thing ever. And it unfortunately wasn't. I thought it would be like The Walking Man. It was his job to like walk straight in a pattern and then stop. And if he did that like 8 times, he would escape. And I thought there would be like different like roles. I don't know. It was fine that it wasn't. That's just different interpretation. It didn't make the movie worse. But it was really cool because, first of all, the Walking Man actor, he just was...
Oh, he was probably my favorite in the whole movie. Actually, I would say there was, 5 actors? 6, 7...
5.
I'm going to say there were 8 actors in the movie because there was the mother, the crying baby, and the man that yelled at her as well.
And all of the extras, so at least 1,000.
That's 8, like, exit 8? Whoa. The walking man, his perspective is exactly the same as the lost man. He is walking in a path trying to get to exit 8. Following the signs and the instructions to look for anomalies and walk back if there are any. Yeah,
it does a jump to the past, it does a flashback, and he was like the player before this, or the person that was in between purgatory before this.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's doing the same thing. He is looking for anomalies, and we see that his person walking is a different person. It's a younger girl, and yeah, we know that something's wrong, and he is not actually evil. He's just...
a guy.
He's just a guy.
He's just a guy.
He's just a guy that got stuck. Because he also found the boy, and he was just like dragging the boy along the whole time, and the boy would be like super perceptive. But again, he didn't say anything. He knew every time there was a... like...
The boy would stop, and he would stare, or he would point at something that was wrong. And when the walking man didn't take notice of the anomaly, the boy continued on with the walking man because the boy was more concerned about the company and making sure the other person was okay than stopping for every anomaly.
There was the most infuriating part of the movie, though, where the boy stopped and was looking at the handle that was in the middle.
Of the door.
Yeah, the doorknob in the center of the door, like in the game. And the guy went up to him, and he was like fully just staring at the child for a good 5 seconds without any peripherals. Did not look at what
the kid was looking at.
Didn't think that there could be a possibility that the kid would be looking at something maybe astray.
Which is odd because he kept asking the kid if he saw anything.
Which also, in real life, this is a life or death thing. Like, look at the goddamn room for 1 second
Yeah.
and look that there's a, like, okay, I say that when we missed it, probably.
Okay.
But it's just like in a real world situation and there's a person there with you, look at what they're staring at instead of being like, come on, child, come on, come on.
Yes,
It was
it's-
so frustrating.
Okay. And the interesting thing about The Walking Man was I thought the first thing I liked was he counted how many posters there were instead of saying what each poster contained. So it introduces like someone else's approach to going through the game immediately, which I thought was interesting. But also the only little thing we really learn about him is that he's supposed to meet his son today. And that's all he says, and that's all we know. But what ultimately happens is after he is desperate to talk to somebody. The kid won't talk, so he struggles with that. And as soon as the walking girl, in his perspective, strikes up conversation with him, he decides it's not an anomaly and talks to her.
Yeah,
Which, when a kid is introduced to you and they stick with you for that long, I can see maybe how that would, whatever.
I can see maybe, but she's
But
the
she's
walking
the one
person
that he encountered so many
his.
times.
So why would he think, after seeing that she is the constant, that when she doesn't do the constant thing, that's like, no.
Normal. Like, that's okay.
Oh my gosh.
So that pissed me off. But he goes through this series of whatever. He gets to about 5, I think, by the time he finds a staircase. And you're not going to find the exit 8 at 5. The sign clearly said 5. The kid saw that the sign says 5. And he sees the staircase and he goes, exit 8! I found it!
And he's running and the
And he
kid
doesn't-
is the kid's pulling him back. And
Because the kid wants to save him.
the kid wants to save him, but he's like, nope, whatever, frick you, I'm just going to kick you. He doesn't kick the
He
kid,
doesn't
but
kick
he
the
practically
kid.
does.
He pulls up the stairs. The kid resists, and at some point, he's holding he's holding the kid's hand. He's staring at him. There's whatever, and he lets go of the kid because the kid is resisting and he wants to leave. And there's a lot to his character that we won't know about. But what it really brought into perspective for me was whether or not Exit 8 was actually like a purgatory in like a life or death space. It really seemed like it was in a lot of specific anomalous situations, like the rushing water that seemed pretty darn deadly. But
Pretty darn deadly.
Pretty darn deadly. But in the sense, if the reason they get caught in this purgatory is because they can't make a decision, he said he's going to meet his son. Does him leaving at the wrong place mean that he doesn't go see his son, or does it mean that he dies?
I don't know, because after he took the wrong exit, then he became part of the system.
Yeah, he got stuck in Exit 8.
So he probably died,
Permanently.
and that probably makes this a death game.
Yeah.
Which is a category that I really, really like of games, and we can talk more about that later.
Hey, if you really like death games, watch As the Gods Will. It's a good
Takashi
movie.
Miike.
Oh, we should review that here.
We definitely should.
Let's rewatch it and review it here.
The weirdest movie ever, the weirdest death game. But death game is such a
love
good
it.
category, and this really fell short. Also, The Long Walk and others. There's so much good death games, so you can't make
There's
yourself a death game
categories.
and then fall short, because you have so much better competition. But I digress.
The issue is that I'm unsure if it is a death game, or just like if the movie just turned it into like a metaphor for big decisions, right?
Yeah, this movie was also just so heavy-handed with the themes. Every single
of
character
needed to be.
introduced had something related
To fatherhood.
to fatherhood. And I'm just like, of course he said that he was going to meet his son, and of course
He leaves the child behind.
Leaves the child behind and is rather neglectful of the child. So then he ends up bad. Whereas,
In the system.
spoiler alert, the lost man, our main character, is helpful and
Nurturing to the
to the
child.
child, and he escapes. So I'm like, oh,
I don't have an
whatever.
issue with it being about fatherhood, and like ultimately it's because we kind of know from the start that he's making this decision to go to the hospital and meet up with his ex-girlfriend, knowing that he could be a father.
Yeah.
It's whether or not he leaves the subway, and I guess maybe that's what it is. whether or not he leaves the subway, right? If he leaves the subway, he's going to the hospital. If he doesn't, then he's not. So if he leaves the subway, he's approaching the possibility he could be a father, and if he doesn't even have to deal with it, which puts him in Exit 8.
Yeah, and now it ends his segment
The Walking Man
because
segment.
the Walking Man is now the Walking Man
He
for
is
our
part of the
main
system.
character.
Yes.
And he is now just nothing but an NPC.
And so the movie switches to the perspective of the child, and it moves to him it goes back to where we had left off. It progresses forward in time to just before our main character finds the child, sees the child, walks away. The child runs over to him and he goes, "Oh, you're a real person. You're not
It's
a real
like-
person. You're still Phantom." But
And before that,
whatever.
there is a sad, touching moment where the Walking Man becomes the Walking Man for the child.
And the child
And
tries
then the
to drag him
child tries
back,
to like drag him and interact with him.
and he won't.
And he won't because
He's
he's an NPC, dead,
or
whatever.
Stuck in purgatory, one of them.
And that moment was probably the saddest in
Yeah.
the movie. Like that was a good moment.
But that was
and-
the thing that also bothered
Good
me
job.
because it presented the child as his own character who was stuck on in this system on his own. And for a while, you think, okay, this kid says he's lost his mom. He said he intentionally ran away from her because he wanted her to go look for him. That's when he gains the courage to speak. That's what he tells the Lost Man. And the Lost Man goes, "I did that before as a kid." You know,
Yeah.
The Lost Man also says that he does not have a father, which is probably it's probably a discussion about parenthood in general.
And the boy says
and
that he
cycles
doesn't
and-
know who his father is.
Yeah.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Hello, subtlety.
Hello, kid. That
Throw it out the window.
is kind of, if you look closely, if you squint closely, they have the same facial proportions, and maybe they might be related if you think like a casting director.
Maybe. But so now after he drags the Walking Man and he's not responsive, then he
meets
sees
the Lost Man.
The Lost Man, our main character, and they interact, and together they are better at working together.
The next anomaly we encounter that's like a big obvious anomaly after they learn how to work together and they bond a little bit is there is a woman standing in the passageway. And the woman is the ex-girlfriend. And the kid says, "Mom!" and runs at her. And that's where you go, okay. So this whole thing's a test. Okay.
Subtlety doesn't exist in this.
And the Lost Man has to grab the kid and say, "That's not her. Let's keep moving. Let's go back." Yada yada.
Son, that's not your mom.
And the next big scene where it's like, this kid could be your kid in the future. If you choose to escape Exit 8, they get hit by the rushing water. The water rises up enough in the system that he can put the kid on the Exit 8 sign that's on the ceiling to preserve him and keep him safe. And he ends up on this beach, and you get this whole seashell scene where
Like a flashback,
the
dreamlike
kid introduces the seashell. He says it's for good luck. That's an earlier thing. It's really out of the blue because people, again, we see that they have things with them. They have whatever they brought with them. And our main character loses his backpack in the middle of the system and will never retrieve it because it's a loop.
But before the rushing water, they have the little moment where they finally talk and the kid finally opens his goddamn mouth, finally. But that's...
He's just a kid. It's okay, guys.
That's where we get their talk about how the dad, I'm just calling him the dad, the Lost Man doesn't have a father figure present, just like the son, the boy, whatever.
Doesn't know who his father is.
And that's where the boy gives the Lost Man a seashell for good luck. And once it's the rushing water scene, then there's like a dreamlike sequence, a flashback of the lost man on the beach getting the seashell.
The lost man is on the beach, and we see him talking to his ex-girlfriend, who is in the same long white robe attire that we have seen her in when she's appeared as an apparition. She starts off again with the "it's your choice" thing, and then she says, "You are a father now," at least like in this scene, right? The kid calls him forward, and the kid gives the seashell to the mom, and then she says, "Oh, this is good luck. Give it to your father." And then he turns to his father, and it's, lo and behold, the kid that we've been interacting with instead of some face-to-face figure.
The boy,
giving
the
the
lost
seashell
man.
to the dad.
Woohoo.
And he's like, "Hey, Dad, have a seashell."
That was
and the
so
dad's like,
subtle. I didn't
"Thanks,
see that
kid."
coming.
And it just pisses me off because I thought the kid was going to be his own character, and that was going to be like a whole thing where he like learns he can be a father because he can provide nature to a kid. And get him back to his mother.
Or it could have been something where the boy is actually the main character, the lost man. It's just him younger. That could have been something more interesting instead of...
I did think for a moment that the walking man was...
related. They might be father and son.
They might be. I did think for a moment that the walking man was an alternate version of the lost man who made the decision not to... whatever. It was a moment.
This dreamlike sequence, though, was very reminiscent of Inception to me, with the flashbacks to Leonardo DiCaprio's children. And I'm just like, we've done this before, and it's not interesting, and it's not subtle. But we get the flood, and the flood overtakes them, and there's this, like, will he make it, will he not? But he helps the child up, and then is fine.
We cut to the perspective of the child. The water has gone away.
Before the child wakes up, he is in like a fetal position.
Oh, yeah.
And the trash and all the debris from the water. People online have said
It looks like
a uterus. And people online also pointed out that this water was on exit 7, like the 7th month, like water breaking of a pregnancy. And they've also said, this is on Reddit, this isn't me, that going from exit 0 to exit 8 is like 9, just like 9 months of pregnancy.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, that could be something.
That could be something. Artistic choices.
Thematics.
Yeah.
Subtle.
Thematic. I have, okay, we'll get on to that. The child gets up and he pauses and he looks around and he doesn't see the lost man. And I thought he was going to go back and search for the lost man because that's what he did with the walking man. But he doesn't.
It's on 8 and he just pieces out.
He goes, he sees that he made it to 8 and he's like, okay, stairs.
See ya.
Bye. And he goes up the stairs. And I was like, well, okay, so maybe he is his own character, or maybe he's like, I served my purpose. Bye.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think he should have been his own character, unrelated to the lost man's dilemma. But the lost man, when he wakes up again, he goes through the series, he finds exit 8. But for him, exit 8 goes down. And that made me freak out, because playing the game, exit 8 went up. And I was like, no, that's not exit 8, that's an anomaly. Did you actually hit exit 7? Oh my god, wait, where are you?
It didn't seem like an anomaly, but it was one of those where it was kind of ambiguous. Did he escape, did he not? But yeah, the weird thing is that the walking men's went up, and we didn't see the kids. But the up was the anomaly, but the up also was at a different time, like
in the game,
level 5, so...
Yeah.
And at the game, you end going up.
Because that's how you get out of the subway, you know, because you're underground. But the main character, he goes back into the subway. And I guess it's because what Exit 8 did in this whatever is it gave him a second chance at what he had seen before. It
got him to the very start.
Yes. He gets on the same subway and he ends up in the same position. And he sees the mother and her crying baby and the man that's harassing her. And it was the longest way to get to that end point where you are held in the suspension and you're like, is he actually going to intervene this time?
He fiddles with his AirPods and it's so long.
And he stares at his reflection and we just see the glassiness of his eyes.
And I'm like,
and the lights going through
this was all
and
for
through
nothing.
and through. And I'm like, you don't be pathetic. You just went through all of this. have expressed that you felt bad that nobody did anything to help the mother, and you're just gonna sit there. But at the very, very end, last second, right before the thing cuts, you see him turn.
Yeah, he
and
turns, cut.
take like a slight step.
And I was like, okay.
So it's like, okay, he's doing something.
Good job. You
So-
escaped purgatory, you escaped your guilt.
You ended
did
up back
something.
inside the situation you were that put you in purgatory in the first place.
And this is where, like, ultimately,
He never escaped the subway.
it was a Groundhog Day situation, and I wasn't expecting that personally. I should
wasn't
have.
either.
It was kind of obvious in retrospect.
Yeah.
But I think it was a neat way to end it.
I did like the ending.
I do love a good cyclical story.
I also love a good cyclical story. That's why I love 8. I really like that
The number 8.
the way you turn in the passages is probably emulating an 8, honestly, because you move, you go here, you go
It's like
here,
a
you go here,
kinda S.
and then when you loop again,
Yeah.
it reflects.
probably-
and it goes.
it could
does
probably
the
be
same
an 8,
system.
I don't know.
I think it is. It's a loop. You
The
know?
more you know.
It's infinity. It's 8. It's a loop. It's cute.
But yeah, that's how it ends. He finally decides to take action. And I will ultimately give it, that's the strongest point of the movie for me.
Yeah.
Because going down especially, I was like, okay, this could be different. He even like buys a water at a vending machine.
Yeah.
And he
I
passes a
liked
bunch of
that.
people and it like, something felt off about it, which
Yeah.
I loved their ability to just create this like
It was foreboding.
unnatural, unsettling. I don't know. It was uncanny.
You just felt a dread creeping up inside of you the further he went back down to the subway.
But everything was probably good. And I do like that ambiguity. I think that was probably its strongest point.
I was worried that he lost his inhaler. I think he did.
I think
because
he
he
did,
needed
but
it so much to
don't
start
worry,
with. And I was
his-
like, oh,
as the movie
no.
progressed, especially after the most terrifying anomaly,
He got better.
the flood, he just
He just
cured.
didn't need to breathe.
He cured his
Yeah,
asthma.
he doesn't have asthma anymore. Okay. Would you like to talk a little bit about the general themes? Just
The themes.
Whatever.
This ever so subtle themes.
I have no issue with themes being on the nose as long as they're delivered tastefully.
It's not even on the nose.
I have no
the
issue
nose.
with knowing what the
It
message is.
is the nose. There's no subtlety.
I have no issue with knowing what the message of the story is as long as I think it actually is delivered well and done
I think it was
artfully.
executed well, and like, I don't know, at least you didn't have to be academic or watch a ending explained video to understand it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, you could have had a different character, or you could have had one of the characters not be related to fatherhood, but I don't know. I get that it was all just like a domino effect.
That
all
would have
of
been
the
the
dominoes.
anomaly.
That would have been actually. I think the theme was fine. The theme of letting your man choose whether to keep or not the baby.
That is the thing I have the issue with. I have no issue with fatherhood stories. I like fatherhood stories as much as I like motherhood stories, and as much as I like siblinghood stories. I like family stories.
I like
think
a
they're
good
sweet
fatherhood
and they're
only.
quaint. We don't get a lot of those, is the
true.
thing. We don't get a lot of just fatherhood stories when it comes to like the birth of a child. Or like the conception of a child. I don't have an issue with
I
that.
like a good conception story.
An inception. I don't have an issue with that. The issue I had was that the question presented was, should we keep the baby or not? Escape the subway.
Yeah.
It should have been, are you coming to be a part of this life? The issue is whether or not he is able to be a father. And you don't have to abort the child for him to not be a father. And at the same time, if you were considering aborting the child, you shouldn't put a time limit on when he gets to the hospital and have that be the decision maker.
Yeah, personally for me, I think I would rather it lean more into like the weird religious aspect with it kind of being purgatory. I would rather it expand upon like the
supernaturalness of it?
Not make it like religious horror, but make it more like a thought-provoking thing, or like there wasn't even a moment where he goes into a room and it's all white and he's the only, like, I don't know. I'm a sucker for when those types of things.
We completely forgot to mention, there's a moment that really fucking stressed me out where he interacts with a door that we know should not open. And he looks into the door and that's where he sees himself on the train and he goes, I should have done something. He confronts it. And it stressed me out because why are you opening the door that should be locked? Why are you standing there and staring into it? But it's artistic.
It's artistic. I think as far as a story goes, it was a fine enough story to put on this game. I think the game would have benefited from a little bit of stakes, and I think that's what the movie did well. Overall, I think I enjoyed the movie a little bit more.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Okay, things I would have changed real quick. Bullet list, right? The question posed should be, are you going to be a part of this baby's life or not? Not, should I abort it or not? Depends on when you get to the hospital. I think the characters should have been completely separate people. I don't think the child should have been a figment or a possibility of his future child. I think he should just be a child with his own story, just like the walking man was a man of his own with his own story. That makes it more connected, and it shows you the difference between making the choice to be a father and making the choice to be not even a father, but like a reliable person. Because this character struggles with being a reliable person. He doesn't stand up for a stranger in public. He doesn't say anything to his girlfriend. He hangs up on her the first time, ex-girlfriend. He hangs up on her the first time she calls, and then is like, what do you want? You know? It's about a change in character. And I think the anomalies should have had more consequences. But other than that, I think it's good.
I think it's a strong premise with an execution that isn't done poorly. It's a story and it's a concept of like the loop and the anomaly system that is thought-provoking and interesting, but then when you sit with it for too long, you're like, this kind of doesn't really go anywhere. Like, this is interesting, but this is also gimmicky.
It goes in circles.
It goes in circles. Whoa! But I think overall, just like to make the story better for me, I would just personally want the characters to be just a little bit more developed and have, you know, the ability to do something in a good, fast, scared... React, please react. But I'd also be interested in having a little bit more like heaven imagery, some like more metaphorical stuff. And I personally always dig something that like struggles with death, and I know this isn't exactly that, it's more purgatory and definitely fatherhood, but
it's indecision.
It could have had like some like death aspect, and ultimately I think it would be more interesting if he didn't survive it, but I don't know. This was what it needed to be, and I think overall this was just a very solid premise, solid execution, nothing groundbreaking, but like perfectly enjoyable, and it was short, so...
I think, to touch on your Heaven's Face thing, that is what the ocean scene tried to accomplish.
Yeah, and that was almost my favorite part.
It was my least favorite part.
Instead, it made the child just there, like, there was a way you could have done it.
It was my least favorite part because the thing that was so charming about Exit the Game and the movie up until that point was that the movie was taking place inside that one space.
That's true. The containment does help.
Everything that we experienced and everything that we thought and everything that we learned about this character, we learned about in the subway system. And the fact that he was still going through the same loops over and over and we were learning more about him as a character, the fact that the setting constantly reversed itself on him and he was still growing, that is what I thought was really impeccable. And to take us out of the space, although the transition by making it rushing water and then bringing him to the ocean with the seashell as well, and then drawing him back, that was a nice clean way to do it.
Yeah, what was your final thoughts and rating of the movie and then just in comparison with the game?
Okay, final thoughts and rating of the movie. I think it gets a solid 3.5, with 3 being directly perfectly average for me. Because I like the premise. I really do. And I like the space and it feels cozy to me. I like subways. And I liked the main character. I thought he was pathetic and stupid to start with, and then he was really endearing to me. I don't know, I thought he was cute. I like the liminal space feel. I like the indecision. I like the discovering yourself sort of aspect of this. There were failures, I think, in which points they tried to hit the hardest and which ones they actually managed to push. And I think in comparison with the game, having the story made it feel more impactful. It felt more human. It felt more like something that was worthwhile. You know? I still like the game, but it's not one I would replay.
Definitely, it's a one and done thing.
Yeah.
I think my final...
Well, for us it is, because we got all the anomalies.
Booyah! 100%. But yeah, I think for me, my final takeaway is that the movie was a good little movie.
Yeah.
It simply tried to do what it tried to do, and it succeeded for most of it. And I think technically, all of the technicalities of just the camera work was beautiful. It all looked beautiful. The yellow,
beautiful.
the sound is beautiful.
It's beautiful.
And I just think it's one where the story is what's lacking the most. Good characters, for the most part. Good setting, amazing cinematography. Just beef up that story. But yeah, I think in tandem with the game, it works well as a good experience to play the game first, then watch the movie. And it's not something that's gonna change the world. But I think overall, it's just a nice little concept. And I would recommend both playing the game and watching the movie. And I also rate it 3.5, and that's funny because we didn't talk about it. But yeah,
That's
it's
true.
just, I could see myself rewatching it maybe twice in my entire life. And I think for all of its worth, it's probably the best video game adaptation, which is a very low bar to pass.
Well, I wouldn't put it at the best because I think Iron Lung is the best.
That's true. Iron Lung is very good too. And we'll have to talk about that soon. But
Stay tuned.
In conclusion, I think as far as death games go, if this is a death game, this is a weak death game. But
I don't know that it's a death game.
I don't know if it's a death game. And as far as stories, introspective stories goes, it's fine.
It's good. It is one.
It's perfectly adequate.
Yeah.
Perfectly adequate.
Perfectly adequate.
Perfectly adequate.
I am content.
And I think that's all we have today.
Yeah.
So without further ado, we have been the Bloody Wankers.
Jerking off.